Hi everyone, thanks for joining me in this video session. If you're following me for a while, you might have seen that I'm sharing different kind of prompt engineering techniques on my social media channel, specifically on TikTok and YouTube. But if you're new to this channel, I would like to welcome everyone. If you are part of the data or AI domain, you might have heard this a lot. And if you are not part of that domain, so obviously you are welcome to understand this new era of AI and what are the uh, potential use cases of AI where we can get benefit. Obviously, with the evolution of AI and large language models, we have seen tremendous amount of benefits that these technologies have bring to the industry. People have been using them in different areas of their businesses, from content generation to effective report writing, generating workflows, and replying to people's email and things like that. So AI is helping a lot in very niche domains. So we have observed that with that kind of pace going on, there is an increasing amount of people who are good at writing engineering prompts, which are kind of an art within itself. So the title of this presentation is basically about how to write effective prompts and the right of how to basically design that kind of instructions which can guide these AI models to produce whatever your desired outputs are. So by specifying the large language models, you must be familiar with the ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, which are the models getting used more often for the users who are basically using them as a daily day-to-day job, irrespective of you are an engineer or not. But I believe that everyone is mostly like using ChatGPT at least. So wherever you're using it, it's a kind of a mastery if you understand how to write an effective prompt to basically just get the right content out of these models, and to get the very full potential of these tools and see how they can help you and make your life easier. So I would like to specify the very three effective areas where you should be keeping them in mind to write when you're writing a prompt. The very first one is basically you need to give a very clear context to the model. So you basically need to frame it in a way that basically the model is having like all the relevant background information about the kind of a task you're specifying it to. And also you need to be very much specific with the instructions. Be very specific about what you want AI to do and how you want it to be done. uh, that is a very next thing which you should be specifying as part of your prompt while giving to the model. And the very third thing which will be effective is basically how you want this to be formatted in a way, like what kind of tone you might be your model to be performing, or what kind of desired outputs that you want to get from the model, and what should be, let's say, length of the response that you want to get from the model. So if you see this very small example, which is basically asking this model to write a 100-word summary about quantum computing, and that should be easily understandable to a 16-year-old student. It is asking that it should be a very simple language and it should be having some interesting facts. So if you see this example, we have a very uh, effective kind of a writing in here. We are asking the model basically what the context is. We're specifying explicitly what actually we need from this model, which is a 100-word summary. And then we are also specifying it to set up a tune according to a 16-year-old student. So all these three elements are very effective to get the response from the model. This is what we actually need to write when we're giving prompt to a model, and things around that. Uh, what kind of types we have in these what kind of times we have when you are writing prompt is also varies. Uh, Sometimes the prompts could be just very a kind of a direct instruction to the model where you just specify a task to do. If you see the very first example again, it's just asking you to write a cover letter for a marketing position, which is should be highlighting creativity and communication skills. So imagine that prompt given to a model where the model is responding on the base of its whatever the pre-trained data it is having. It just works on that data and gives you the very accurate or very relevant response to your model with a cover letter summary around that. But when you move to the very next stage, which is a different kind of a prompt engineering technique, which is a role-based prompt technique, where you frame the AI to basically adopt a specific kind of a role or a kind of expertise. So as when you specify a role to the prompt, as part of the prompt engineering technique to the model, uh, it obviously gonna recall all of its memory to figure out all of the content that it is being trained on, which is relevant to the role which you have specified it to. So in this example, we're asking it to behave as a climate scientist, so it understand the better context around that kind of a domain, where it can explain those concepts very much relevantly and all of its knowledge instead of being very vague. So we have seen tremendous amount of improvements when you are giving a context to a model. So imagine the use cases again. If you're working as a social media strategist in a company, so you ask it to act as the role of a social media expert, so it's going to use all of the knowledge around the social media domain to basically help you writing very effective content, including keywords, SEO friendly keywords and things like that. So it has all that knowledge which basically going to help you. Similarly, if you're a software engineer, then you give it a role based prompt to act as a software engineer, and then what kind of experience you might be needed as a software engineer, you specify it, and then you will see the kind of a level of the response you might be getting, which can help you in writing code from the very beginner level to might be a very advanced level, how to make your software deployable and everything. That's a kind of a massive outcome you can get from these techniques when you're going to use it. The very third use case I would like to mention is about chain of thoughts process, which is a kind of a technique within the AI, which when you specify a kind of a problem, so you give it relevant knowledge first, and then you specify step by step instructions to it. So you will see that it's gonna observe all the stages of the problem, and then it will see and understand what is happening and how it is happening, and then it's gonna figure out the whatever the actual output you might be expecting. You might have use cases where you have mathematical problems, where you might be having use cases to solve it in a series of steps. You might want it to do a certain step at stage one. In stage two, you want to rely on the step one again, and then in the stage three, you will be having the output which is based on stage two and stage one. So it's a series of steps which is it is observing, and basically that's going to click or triggering up the it's going to trigger up the kind of a reasoning capability of the model. So obviously, when you have that kind of problem, so you need to use that approach to write prompts. Moving around that, let's see what are the kind of actual problems we are having further. I have a kind of a demo being ready, so I'm going to show you, and then we will see how we are getting that response. Thank you. Hi, so as part of the demo process for the prompt engineering techniques, we are using Python code. So if you're familiar with Python, so it's going to be a very simple process for you. But if you're not, then I will recommend to uh, go over and have a look around basic Python stuff. So what we are doing in here is basically we're importing the relevant libraries in here. The very specific one is basically we are using OpenAI. So we need to make sure that those libraries are installed, and then also we are using the environment variables. I have basically generated an OpenAI key as part of the process, because we are programmatically having an interaction with the large language model. So you need to generate an API key basically to make sure that you are connected with LLM. So in here we are creating a client interface, and using that client we are going to make requests to those LLMs. The very next step is basically a generic get response function which expects a prompt as an input parameter, and then a model is being specified. So for this use case we are using GPT 3.5 turbo, which is part of the OpenAI model series. They have been releasing models very quite often, so you need to be familiarize yourself about the relevant models, there are certain benchmarks to understand that which model is accurate for which kind of use cases, but that is not part of this video series. So the chat GPT 3.5, that's a model we are using, and then as part of the instruction process we are specifying the role to this model as to be a helpful and a friendly customer support assistant. So we're going to see that if the model has to act like a support assistant, how it's going to assist the user. So we are specifying that role as we discuss in our video series as well in here. Temperature is again a parameter which you can play around to see how creative the model response is. So if you can play around with it, you will see there is a lot of difference in getting the model response quality. But you can always play around with that parameter to understand better. So this is a generic function where we'll be passing different prompts, and let's see what kind of response we are getting in. So the very first prompt engineering technique as part of this series is basically zero shot prompt, which is a very generic instruction to the model. So model just gonna use whatever the knowledge it is having as a vague input, I would say. So you're not specifying any role in here. So you're just asking it a very generic question, which is about a return policy for electronic devices. purchased within the last 30 days. So model doesn't know about it, which kind of electronic devices we are talking about and what is the return policy, because we are not specifying any company or any details around that, because these policies might vary according to industry and companies to companies. So it's a very vague input to the model. That's where we just depend upon the model, that how it's going to retrieve the response from its knowledge base. I need to i need to first execute this function. So coming back again to this section again, when we are running this prompt, let's see what the response is. It's taking a bit of a time. And if you see, it just gives us a very generic response. Our return policy for electronic devices purchased in the last 30 days allows for a full refund or exchange. The device must be in original conditions, and further information around that. If you need to connect, feel free to connect with us, contact with us, and things like that. So consider this use case. There is no particular specification about a company or a kind of a devices in here. So that's a very vague category of prompt writing, which we call zero shot prompting. Moving towards the next prompt category, which is few shot prompt engineering. In this, we are specifying a kind of a tone to the model. So we are asking it to answer in a clear and polite tone, and also giving it a kind of example where the customer could be asking a question, and then kind of a response we should be giving to that customer. That's a very important step in here. So few short prompting works like that way. We have a customer query as an example where we're asking it to, can you tell me the difference between basic and premium subscription plans? So the response is basically a very polite tone, which is and easy to understand and easy to explain about the kind of basic plan details and what basic plan includes and what premium plans includes. Now we are expecting it to give the response in the same way. So if we give run this, we're gonna see the model has given us the details in a very polite tone based on the question that we ask. So that's a kind of a strategy we need to follow when we are expecting a model to act like in a specific tone. So imagine you are again customer support assistant. So how are you going to deal with your customer? That's very important, and the response should be like that way. So you can use that technique in basically responding to your customer. The very third one, which is the last one, we're going to talk about is the chain of thought process. Again, which is a step-by-step instruction. So you're asking uh, giving it again an example where you're telling it the customer is asking about store's holiday process or holiday hours, and if there are any specific promotions going on. So we're asking it to think step by step. So it should be, let's say that a very first process, it should be greeting the customer, then it should be sharing the holiday hours, and then the third step should be mention any special events or offers, and then we need to follow up with the customer to invite them for a visit or something relevant. That so this is how we are gonna set up our steps where we're gonna start to the end. There is a series of instructions that model should be performing. So that is obviously uh, is a chain of thought process in normal English word as well. But it's a friendly tone chain of thought process technique which we see that it's getting used more often as well as part of the businesses. So yeah, the response we got is again something quite relevant. So I hope you have enjoyed this session and this demo, and obviously it makes sense where you can use these kind of techniques to interact with your customers, and how you can add these kind of techniques within your business processes as part of the, again whatever the domain you are working in. And it can ease up a lot of stuff, uh, and it can free up a lot of manual processes as well. So let me know where you are going to use these techniques and how you find it useful. Did you find it useful, and where you're going to plan to use them? Thank you.